Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
The tourism minister weighs in on the collapse of the Grand Lucayan sale.
Whether you're pressing the start or restart fitness button, Cal Nesbitt of Bowflex Barbie Fitness has top advice for you up next.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Jared Higgs. Topping news tonight, the Minister administration does not really want to buy the Grand Lucayan, according to Tourism Minister Dionisio de Aguilar, whose revelation came 1 week after Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis told Free National Movement members in the Grand Bahama that government is prepared to purchase the resort. De Aguilar described the failed deal between the Wynn Group and Hutchison Whampoa as disappointing, frustrating, and vexing. Jasmine Brown reports.
The tourism minister says purchasing the resort is something the government really does not want to do, but will do if it comes down to it. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis said last week that if the government cannot find another buyer for the hotel, it is prepared to buy it. De Aguilar says while nothing has been finalized, the discussions are ongoing.
So I know that the government really doesn't want to purchase a hotel. But if that's what we have to do in order to bring some relief to the Grand Bahama economy, that I think the government is minded to do so. De
Aguilar spoke with our news team on the sidelines of the Bahamas Hotel and Tourism Association's Board of Directors and membership meeting at the British Colonial Hilton this morning. His comments come 2 days after the Wynn Group revealed it had withdrawn its bid to purchase the Grand Lucayan Hotel. The group's CEO, Paul Wynn, cited the high cost of operating on Grand Bahama and the final purchase price of $65 million decided on by owners Hutchison Whampoa as the key reasons for pulling out of negotiations. As it relates to negotiations with Wynn, De Aguilar says it seemed the goalposts were unobtainable.
We had hoped to get a deal. We always felt, I think to a certain degree, the goalposts kept moving. You know, when you're in somewhat of a desperate situation and you're trying to strike a deal, if you're a piranha of a vendor, you're going to push and push and push. And, you know, we're trying to strike a deal that is not too onerous to the taxpayer and makes sense for Grand Bahama. And it has been seemingly very hard to get to that final product with Mr. Wynn and a number of vendors that have been out there.
The hotel closed its doors in October 2016 for repairs after it sustained damage during the passage of Hurricane Matthew. Nearly 1,000 people lost their jobs. The resort features 3 brands, Memories, Breakers Key, and Lighthouse Point. In November 2016, only the 196-room Lighthouse Point reopened. The government allocated $25 million in the new budget to aid in the hotel's reopening. The tourism minister says it's vital that the government gets the hotel up and running for the sake of the floundering Grand Bahamian economy.
And we want the people of Grand Bahama to know that the amount of hours and time that has been spent by the Cabinet of the Bahamas focused on this issue has been monumental, and hopefully, you know, we pray and hope that we can bring about an outcome that makes sense.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Meanwhile, Kalina Financial Advisors Limited President Anthony Ferguson says he was insulted by Wynn Group CEO Paul Wynn's assertion that the government should purchase the Grand Lucayan Hotel after the group withdrew its own bid last week.
Obviously, when he ran his analysis, he don't see where he could make his expected return on the investment, and so that's no reason why, you know, Bahamians capable of running the same analysis can't see the same thing and could come to the same conclusion.
The Wynn Group has offered to provide government with a loan to purchase the hotel. However, Ferguson says he sees the Grand Lucayan as a tough sell.
I think it's a challenging investment at best.
Ferguson says he does not believe the Grand Lucayan has ever seen a high level of occupancy since it opened to make it consistently cash flow positive. His advice to the government is not to purchase the hotel.
While I understand the thought process of the government in terms of keeping people employed, because, you know, a lot of people are depending on it, you know, I would, you know, encourage them to explore alternatives that would have the same impact and effect while not outlaying $100+ million in terms of the purchase price, the renovation price, marketing costs, the working capital, and the like. So I think there are alternatives, but I understand that the position they are in is very tough, and so. But I would encourage them to explore alternatives. Yeah.
A police officer found himself on the other end of the law today after he was charged in the magistrate's court in connection with a recent drug bust. Giorgio Bain has the details.
29-year-old Mario Marcus Newbold of Elizabeth Estates stood before Magistrate Shubu Sola Swain to answer the 2 drug-related charges. Newbold was charged with possession of dangerous drugs with the intent to supply and conspiracy to possess dangerous drugs with the intent to supply. According to police reports, shortly before 1 p.m. on Thursday, drug enforcement officers conducted a search of a charter aircraft with 6 persons on board at the Lynden Pinland International Airport. Upon checking a suitcase believed to be the property of the officer, 3 kilos of suspected cocaine was allegedly discovered with the street value of $53,000. Newbold pled not guilty to both charges and was represented by attorney Devard Francis. In court, the young police officer wept openly and had to be consoled by his colleagues, who joined him in court for support. Some of his colleagues also cried and had to step out of the courtroom. Swain told Newbold that she did not have the jurisdiction to grant him bail and remanded him to the Bahamas Department of Corrections. Upon going to the Supreme Court this afternoon, Newbold was granted bail of $20,000 with 2 sureties. Reporting for our News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
Officials from the Ministry of National Security's Trafficking in Persons Committee will launch an education campaign in the country's schools in an effort to raise awareness on the issue. Officials say the Bahamas hasn't dealt with a case of a minor being trafficked. However, that doesn't line up with global data. While the Bahamas is considered to be fully compliant with the minimum standards of the United States' Trafficking Victims Protection Act 2000, Chairman of the Ministry of National Security's Trafficking in Persons Committee, Suzanne Knowles, is warning that cases of minors being trafficked may be going undetected.
We've not encountered any local minor that has been trafficked. But according to world statistics, it says of the 21 million, a third of that population are minors.
Given those figures and the Bahamas' classification as a destination country for traffickers, Knowles suspects that there may be instances of young people, some as young as 6, being exploited for sex and even labor.
Hence, the Trafficking in Persons Committee during the months of September and October are going into our schools, going into our primary, junior high and secondary schools to ensure that the anti-trafficking message is spread and that the Bahamas has a zero tolerance for the trafficker.
Knowles admits that with the resources available to them, they will have to rely heavily on school personnel in their efforts to identify potential victims.
Because our tenure within the school will be just a short visit, we want to so equip the teachers, the administrators, the counselors with the kind of information so that those who see the children on a prolonged basis can identify those things. What we hope to do when we go into the schools, we need to start the conversation about trafficking, and so that it will be continued through the teachers, support staff, and administrators within the school.
The U.S. government has stated that the Bahamas spends in excess of $80,000 per year on trafficking victims' care, while describing government's efforts in addressing the issue as serious and sustained. Despite that, its latest human trafficking report indicated that there were credible allegations of corruption in the Immigration Department, making victims of trafficking more vulnerable. Breadbasket items that were once subject to value-added tax no longer reflect VAT in their pricing. Today, Jillian Gray went shopping to find out just how much of a savings consumers can expect.
Corned beef, margarine, broths and soups, they're all VAT-free, but are they good for you?
3 days after VAT was removed from breadbasket items, we took a trip to a local supermarket to see if the new proposed savings drove persons to purchase more of the items that are on the VAT-free list. There, we met Vanessa, whose shopping cart was filled with goods, but none were VAT-free, and she says that's okay.
We're cashing out, so it is a little bit of money, but it's worth the health. So if you can see here, we have nothing that is canned, nothing that is processed. There's no sodium in what we're purchasing. So clean foods, whole foods.
So you think that these are the things that should be VAT-free?
That should be the things that should be consumed, yeah, as much as grown items as possible.
Though Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands has proposed changes to the breadbasket items list, it's unclear when that will happen. And though unhealthy items like sugar have been removed from that list, other items like corned beef are still there. Now, while health officials have stressed the importance of ridding the list of unhealthy items, some people are advocates for it to remain unchanged.
I don't know who determined that is unhealthy. I hope they've done all of their research, and I hope that's the end of the research, but corned beef is one thing that most Bahamians love. Okay, and I don't think it should be replaced.
While the debate surrounding what's on the list rages on, we went shopping to check out the savings. The F showing all VAT-free items and the T showing what's taxed is an easy indicator for customers. This coding also appears on the customer's receipts. Our subtotal $31.23 would have come up to $34.97 with 12% VAT. But as only one of our items was eligible for VAT, we were only charged $31.42, bringing our total savings to $3.74. Store manager Ian Russell said they were at the store from closing time on Tuesday till 9 a.m. Wednesday morning, repricing items.
It's over 8,000 items that we have to change, so to get all of that, go and incorporate all that together is a big task, but they did a great job on getting it out, and I think we did a fantastic job. We're up to date now. Everything is in the system, and everyone's saving now on their 12% VAT.
Now, when the breadbasket items list is revised and this process has to take place yet again, Russell said they will be more than prepared based on the experience they gained this time around. He added that while some customers were confused, the signs throughout the store and friendly staff ensured that when they check out, they are more than informed.
For any change, they were like that. They were a little apprehensive in the beginning to see their tag, their register tape. We showed them what it was, where the tax is, and then where the 12% was taken off, so they're very happy with that. And then at the end of the day, they looked at their total and they did see the savings.
Reporting for our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
Still to come on our News, Defense Force officers get trafficking in persons training, plus how breastfeeding mothers are helping to build community support one latch at a time. That's coming up when our News returns.